What's up YouTube, Dale here from Zephyr, and today I've finally gotten around to do an update for you all for Fire Kings. Now I've actually kept this very budget. This is what I absolutely love about this deck, is even on this budget that I'm about to show you, it can very much compete. I've been seeing duelists with the Fire King deck cause a lot of issues at regional levels. It's insane. The deck's also very good into Genesis, so it's one of these ones where if you already had the Fire King structure decks, you're halfway there to being able to have a deck ready for Genesis format or just in normal advanced format that can also help you compete. So I'm going to take you through this list. I'll talk about some of the costly upgrades you can do, and maybe they become cheaper next year if they get another reprint. But other than that, please smash that like button, hit that notification bell, and subscribe so you don't miss out on any more upcoming content. So, starting off with the starters. Going with 3 legendary Fire King Ponyx. Now, if you wanted to, you can have this card extra shiny, as it did come as a Starlight Rare in the most recent Megatins of 2025. If you just want to keep it very bog standard normal, again, it all comes in the structure deck. Now, one of the starters that did not come in the structure deck was Fire King Contier, the Volcanics, but it did recently get a reprint in the Megatin, so relatively easy to pick up. Original as a secret rare, then it obviously got a reprint, so it's nice and easy to get a hold of. This is one of your ideal starters alongside the Ponyx, as both of them will tend to do the same thing, just in different ways. So the Ponyx is if a monster or monsters that was originally fire is destroyed by a battle or card effect, you special summon this card from the hand. If it is normal or special, you get to add a Fire King spell or trap from the deck to the hand. More times than not, you're going to be going for Sanctuary. And if you already have Sanctuary, you're going to be going for Skyburn, which I think is an incredibly good card in a Fire King strategy in general. Then on top of that as well is if this card is destroyed during the next standby phase after it was destroyed and sent to the graveyard, you get to add it back to the hand, so you recur that resource. The Volcanics is if it is normal or special, you destroy one other fire monster in your hand or face up field, and if you do, you add a Fire, Beast, Beast Warrior or Winged Beast monster from the deck to the hand, except itself, and then you can make this card's level become the added monsters. If this card is destroyed and sent to the graveyard, you special summon a Fire King High Avatar Garunix from the deck in defense position. So just a direct way to get access to the Fire King Garunix can sometimes be very important, because that will also set you up with a field clear during your opponent's turn as well, or just during the next standby phase. Then Fire King have their own hand interactions in the form of the Fire King Avatar Kirin. Again, this one came in the structure deck. It's kind of a card like this that I really would love to see as an ultimate rare upgrade, but maybe we see this as a Starlight Rare upgrade in the next Rarity Collection 5. The exact same could be said for the Sacred Fire King Garunix as well. So your High Avatar Kirin, so playing three of each of these. The High Avatar Kirin is it gives you the ability that during the main phase, if it's in the hand, you get a quick effect to destroy one other fire monster in your hand or face up field, and if you do, special summon this card. If this card is destroyed and sent to the grave, you get to special summon a Fire King monster from the hand or grave, except itself, and then non-target destroy a card on the field. Really important. Then your Sacred Fire King Garunix is if a monster or monsters that was originally fire is destroyed by battle or card effect, you special summon this card from the grave or the hand, so just constantly going to be putting onto the field. It's a very nice kind of trap-esque effect during the battle phase. If your opponent forgets about this in the grave, it's just going to come down. If it's normal or special, you destroy a Fire, Beast, Beast Warrior or Winged Beast monster in your deck or face up field, except itself. And if you do, this card gains attack equal to half the destroyed monster's attack it had there. So this is actually very disruptive. It's very powerful. And then keeping in mind as well, the fact that it destroys in a deck, it can't be hit with an Ash Blossom, which is really important. Then we're playing the one of the original Fire King High Avatar Garunix. The main effect you want to be keeping in mind on this one is that it's once per turn during the next standby phase after it was destroyed by card effect and sent to the grave, you special summon it from the grave. If you do, you destroy all other monsters on the field. When this card is destroyed by battle and sent to the grave, you get to special summon a Fire King monster from the deck, except itself. Then we're playing one of the original Fire King Avatar Kirin. So if a face-up Fire King you control is destroyed by a card effect, except during down step, you special summon it. But what you're going to want to be doing more times than not is if it is destroyed and sent to the graveyard, you send a fire monster from the deck to the grave. The fire monster you're going to want to send is going to be your miscellaneous Saurus, and I'll talk about that in a second. We're then also playing the one Ragbali, we're playing the one Avatar. So Avatar is your monster negator, your Ragbali is your spell and trap negator, which is really important. Your Avatar, that if it is destroyed, you get to special summon a Fire King or a Fire Beast, Beast Warrior or Winged Beast monster from the grave, except itself, but you negate its effects. And then your Rad Barley has the same effect there for Face Up Fire King. You can try as destroyed by card effect. You special summon it from the hand. And then on top of that as well, if you do, you get to destroy, when you negate the spell or trap effect, you get to destroy one other fire monster in your hand or face up on the field. So again, just ways to destroy your Fire Kings because that's what you want to do. Then a very small Jurrac package in the main deck, so it's free, well, one Jurrac monster at free and one dinosaur monster, and then in the extra deck you're playing 2 Meteor and 2 of the Astero. This is basically just a way of being able to Jurrac Meteor your opponent during their turn. Very, very powerful, very, very cheap, depending on where you're trying to pick these cards up from, so keep in mind. You're going to play 3 Jurrac Megalo. You kind of want to see this in your opening hand. It just adds this with the Kirin to become another form of interaction, because the one thing that your Jurrac Meteor is going to give you above everything else is it clears your opponent's entire field. So when they want to start going, okay, cool, go through Dracatal combo, set, these 3 trap cards are going to be really annoying, you can just go, cool, Meteor, and clear everything off. So your Jurrac Megalo is if a dinosaur monster you control, if you control a dino, you get to special on this card from hand. During the main phase, you get to discard 2 cards, including a Jurrac card, to draw 2. If this card is destroyed by battle or card effect, so Kirin, you get to send 1 Jurrac monster from your deck or extra deck to the graveyard, send in the Astero, and the Astero has the effect that it's a quick effect to banish itself plus, or banish 2 Jurrac monsters to special summon out, treat it as a synchro summon, a Jurrac Meteor, which we'll explain when we get to the extra deck. Then we've got the 1 Miscellaneous Saurus. The idea is destroy this, get to the graveyard, banish it, summons out the Megalo, and then you build on from there. For the spells, we've got 2 Fire King Island and 2 Sanctuary. You can do a 3 and 2 if you wanted to, entirely up to you. And then on the 1 Skyburn, highly considering putting it up to 2, but that is entirely up to you on that one. Because in the space of the second one, I am playing the Circle of the Fire Kings, but you don't have to play this. This can very easily be a second Skyburn. I just like the ability to target a fire monster I control and a fire in the graveyard, destroy the monster I control, and then switch it with the one in the graveyard. So it gives me a little bit more flexibility, and also gives me more ways of being able to trigger the destruction effect without needing to go 2 on 1. Then for the non-engine, we've got 3 Ash Blossom and 3 Molchomi Furlos, so legendary 5Ds is where you're going to be able to get access to these. 3 Sales Ban, I highly advise you picking these up from OTS 29. Like, it may be a common, do not let it go to the bin. Pick it up from the friends. Like, sometimes people just open up their OTS packs a little bit later on, like once the OTS has been out for a while, and they're like, yeah, cool, seen this, it's not an ultimate rare, don't really care, put it in the bulk pile. So I highly advise you go for the bulk pile at your local environment. And the reason I really like Sales Ban is you get to call that one particular card that you might not be main decking that can cause you an issue. The one thing that the Fire Kings do have is that they're not that massively susceptible to certain chummies. There are ways where they can still end on a half-decent field, even without the chummies being involved. So you get to utilize cards like Sales Ban to call Nibiru if it's going to cause you an issue. You can very easily call Feymena if that's going to cause you an issue. Arfulion, Dracatel Flame, Yummy Snatchy, Drawn Lockbird, Ash Blossom. You've got like so many different things that you can call with this card. It's very, very important and very powerful. If you don't and you want to upgrade some money, the upgrade you'd consider would be something like a Dominus Impulse, but even then you'd probably consider some of the other cards I'm about to show you, which I'm considering as the breakers of the deck. So for the breakers of the deck, I've gone with 3 Super Polymerization. Like, your extra deck is very flexible. You can adapt some of your targets as you see fit, and if you ultimately end up finding that your side deck is not really working, or like your extra deck isn't working with Super Poly targets, you could swap them out for Ultimate Slayers if you wanted to. I choose to go with 2 Forbidden Trellis. You don't have to play this card. I just like it right now in this format. It just puts in a lot of work for me, so that when my opponent thinks that they're completely clear of an infinite impermanence, I can hit them with a Forbidden Chalice. It could obviously be upgraded to a Forbidden Droplet, but I don't really want to be sending my cards to the graveyard. And also under Herald of the Arclight, it makes Droplet a little bit more awkward. So I do quite like the idea of a Forbidden Chalice to trade off with the Herald of the Arclight. It lets me trade off with an Arfulion during my turn, so that when the Arfulion tries to target my cards and then target cards in their graveyard, I just go, cool, Chalice, and negate it without having to send cards that I want on the field to present with more link plays or maybe more destruction plays. The last 2 cards I'm playing is 2 Fallen and the Virtuous. Now this is a 42 card main deck. You can cut either of these out if you wanted to. You could shuffle around as you see fit. But what I like about the Fallen and the Virtuous is it's just one of them ones quite like Forbidden Chalice in a sense, but rather than negating, you get to destroy. So if anything, you could cut out the Fallen and the Virtuous and bring in a 3rd Forbidden Chalice should you want to, but I quite like this at the pure fact that it gets to recycle itself. So you activate the first one, you send an Albion, or as you'll see in the side, the extra deck, a Titaniclad. That can then, less so the Titaniclad, definitely the Albion. The Albion then searches you out the second one, and you get to or sets the second one so that during your opponent's turn you've got another Fallen and the Virtuous that can be utilized. The Titaniclad is really only in there so that if you were to activate and resolve the second one and you wanted to be a little bit spicy, you could go for a Dogmatica Ecclesia, and the Ecclesia would summon itself during the opponent's end phase. That would then search you out a Dogmatica Punishment, which will open up your extra deck a little bit more, but could also search you out a third Fallen and the Virtuous. But remember, each Fallen and the Virtuous you play does then demand a space of a monster that mentions Fallen of Albaz in the extra deck. So that's something you need to consider, but that really kind of comes down to preference, main deck, what you have available to, and everything else. But the fact that the Fallen and the Virtuous came as a ultra rare in the actual structure deck, the Chronicles Fallen and the Virtuous Foil Edition, but then it also came as a secret upgrade, which those that are not prepared to pay out for Starlights are going for, and then you've got the high-end collectors that are going for the Starlight. So they're relatively easy to pick up, and it's definitely something you need to be keeping your eyes out on. Moving on to the extra deck. So the only XEs we play is the Grunix Eternity Hyang of the Fire Kings. This is just one of the ones that with Sanctuary you get to make this during your opponent's turn, and quite like Jurrac Meteor, just completely clear some of your opponent's monsters, which is really important. Then we'll go for the links. So for the links, we've got a Relinquish Anima. I just feel that your opponent will sometimes play into Relinquish Anima zone, and if you are siding in the Dogoran, the Mad Flame Kaiju, just being able to go, cool, Kaiju, and putting it in a zone that Anima could point to, and then Anima gets to take it, is really, really powerful. Then we've got the one Heat of the Fire Charmer that you're going to use to work up into your Promethean Princess, and Promethean Princess will work its way into the Raging Phoenix, which can then tag itself out for the World Sea Dragon Zelantis. You can adapt these if you wanted to, but I still think playing this fire route is really, really important in a deck like this. Then for our Super Poly targets, we've got the one Mud Dragon of the Swamp, got the one Garura Wings of Resonance Life, and then I've got the one Magistus Torozo. Now the reason I've got Torozo in here is purely for the Dracotail matchup. You can very easily use Starving Venom, and another card you can consider if you want to put a little bit more money into the deck is the Secturion Dragon, because this is mainly in here for the Dracotail matchup. But if you're able to get a Secturion Dragon and completely lock your opponent down, you're getting like a 2-for-1 advantage. Not only are you super polying off their field, but you're also then going, cool, you can't activate spellcasters and dragon effects. It pretty much wins you the duel from that point on. But entirely up to you. I just went with the Trozo as another alternative option, but you can go for anything you need to. The last two I've got is the one Titaniclad and the one Albion. Now, the Titaniclad is literally only in here to show you as the next best alternative. You can very easily play the Dragon that devours the Dogma should you wish, but the idea behind this one is that the Albion is the ideal one because that sets you the Fallen and the Virtuous. Then when you activate the second Fallen and the Virtuous, you send Titaniclad, which can be any fusion monster that mentions Fallen of Albaz if you want to. This is purely in here that if you're like, you know what, I'm going to take out the Forbidden Chalices and I actually want to try out the one Dogmatica Punishment and the one Ecclesia, that's when you can start opening up some options for you. But ultimately, these are just two cards that mention Fallen of Albaz. It could be a second Albion. As long as one of them is Albion, the other one can be whatever you want. Then we've got two Astero. So this is where the Jurrac engine really comes into its own. So if this guy is synchro summoned, which you're never really going to do, you get to set a Jurrac spell or trap. The one thing you want to keep in mind on is that during your opponent's turn, quick effect, you get to banish 2 Jurrac monsters from the grave, including this card. Special summon a Jurrac Meteor from the extra deck, and it's treated as a synchro summon. So because you play 2 Asteros, you should be able to get 2 to the graveyard very easily, and that then opens up the door to Jurrac Meteor your opponent. But when it is synchro summoned, you destroy all cards on the field. Then you special summon a tuner monster from the graveyard. Bringing back a tuner is just the added benefit. What you're aiming to do there is just go and Jurrac Meteor and completely clear the entire field. Like the asteroids to the dinos, you want to make sure that that field is completely clear as it comes back over to your turn when you're trying to push either for the OTK or you're just making sure that your opponent loses everything that they've set. That sting, that horn, that flame, all gone. The only thing you need to worry about is maybe an Arfulion or a Gulamel coming back to the field, and also maybe a Phimena in the hand. But if you're able to navigate around them quite easily, you should be in a very good spot. So that's it for the entire profile update. Now, this profile, depending on if you've been picking up the recent structure decks, depending if you already have the original Fire King cards and you've been picking them up, is very, very cheap and easy to update. You should be already having access to stuff like Drownlock Birds, Ash Blossoms and everything else in between by this particular point. But if you want to put this deck together, I think you could buy the entire thing for about £100 or less, or even $100 or less, just because there is nothing in here that hasn't had a recent reprint that isn't really, really cheap and easy to pick up. The best option as well is to take a look at Card Market or even Tier 0 games. You can pick up stuff a little bit cheaper depending on where you're located in the world, and it will make this deck so incredibly cheap and easy to put together and very, very fun. Like I said, it's very competitive. It really does cause some issues. I love the idea behind it, and if you learn it inside and out, you will always give yourself an additional edge to the current meta depending on what is being utilized and played. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. Do like, comment, subscribe, share. Till next time, as absolutely always, stay safe and, of course, happy dueling.